What would happen if we lived in a world without water?
Donald Trump telling California voters that he is going to solve the state's 5-year drought.
We're going to solve your water problem. You have a water problem that is so insane. It is so ridiculous, where they're taking the water and shoving it out to sea. And I just met with a lot of the farmers who are great people, and they're saying, we don't even understand it. They don't understand. Nobody understands it. And I've heard this from other friends of mine in California, where they have farms up here, and they don't get water. I said, oh, that's too bad. Is it a drought? No, we have plenty of water. I said, what's wrong? Well, we shove it out to sea. And I said, why? And nobody even knows why. And the environmentalists don't know why. Now, they're trying to protect a certain kind of 3-inch fish.
Trump did not go into detail about how officials would open up the water, nor what science supports the claim that the drought is not real. But he did tout himself as a champion of the environment, saying, quote, I've received many, many environmental rewards, really, rewards and awards, close quote.
More than 100 years ago, California gold rush left a toxic legacy that continues to cause problems in Northern California watersheds. More than 1 billion people across the globe don't have access to safe water. Every day, 3,900 children die as a result of insufficient or unclean water supplies. The situation can only get worse as water gets even more scarce.
A journalist, Paul Rogers, stated in an article by the Mercenary News that the California drought is over, but is it really?
As of April 1st, 2017, the National Drought Mitigation Center estimates approximately 10.3 million people in California are currently affected by the drought.
My name is Anthony Tu. I'm a civil engineer. I work for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. I'm a registered engineer in the state of California. Water is, you can think of it as a resource or a commodity. It's something that people need. So the problems with a water shortage are the same as they would be with any other shortage of a resource, and that is that people have certain needs. They want to use a certain amount of water. They want to have gardens or pools, or they want to it maintains sanitation in places like hospitals. So we really do need water, and what happens is we become accustomed to a certain amount of water, and when we have less of it, the people have to make do with less, and we have to prioritize where we're going to put water, or the Department of Water and Power, where I work, we have to figure out ways of supplementing that water supply so that people don't have to deal with such a shortage.
What do you know about the drought?
That there's a lot of issues with the water, as in not enough people get enough water.
What are you doing about it?
Using less water and taking less time in the shower.
All right. Do you know any solution to the drought?
I don't know.
The process and time involved in recycling water greatly depends on what the water is going to be used for. So, for example, if you're going to use recycled water for a purpose like irrigation, or if you're going to use it in an industrial purpose like in a cooling tower for a power plant, or if you're going to use it for some other non-potable purpose, largely we can use water that has been treated to the standard that is required for release into the environment, which requires, in most cases, 3 levels of treatment. You have to go through what's called preliminary primary treatment, which is largely a form of settlement where the water is put into a large pool and it becomes still, and dense stuff that's more dense than water sinks to the bottom, stuff that's less dense flows to the top and is able to be removed in that manner. Second step is a biological form of treatment. It's called secondary treatment, and in this process it's actually broken into 2 phases. One is an anaerobic phase, where basically the waste is mixed and organisms within the waste actually feed on organics, and they clean the water in that way. And these are organisms that are prosper in a non-oxygenated environment. So then there's a second portion of this form of treatment where the water is still mixed, but also we aerate it. We put a lot of air bubbles in it, and this is an aerobic phase, and that's because some organisms benefit from an aerobic environment, and those organisms then feed on any organic material that's still in the waste. After that, it goes through what's called secondary clarification, which is very similar to primary treatment. It goes into a large pool, becomes still. Anything less dense than water floats on the top. Anything denser than water sinks to the bottom, and it's removed at those points. And then it moves to a third phase, which is called tertiary treatment. Tertiary treatment, at this point, the water has very small particles. That is all that remain in it. And in fact, the particles are so small that they wouldn't actually be captured by the filters we use. So we add what's called a plasticizing polymer, which causes the particles to kind of group and glom onto it, and that through a process like a coagulation or flocculation. And once that happens, when it passes through the filter can catch the particles. The water is very clean by this point, and it is safe for. I'm sorry. Then there's one more step, and that is the water is chlorinated. So we chlorinate the water, and at that point, once it's been chlorinated, you can use it for non-potable purposes. So we put it in what our purple pipe distribution system, which is exclusively for recycled water, and it's only for non-potable purposes, which is non-drinking purposes. And it's distributed throughout the city. Large customers, one of the bigger customers are like public golf courses. Almost, I think 80% of them use recycled water now. They also go to places like cooling towers and stuff like that, and you can use tertiary water for that. If you're going to now, currently in the state of California, the only form of potable reuse, so this is taking recycled water and using it to augment our drinking water supply or our normal water supply. There's only really one form that is firmly regulated, and that's indirect potable reuse, and that's where you take water that's been treated to a specific level, and you inject it into the ground, and then it can be drawn up later. The regulations require a minimum of tertiary treatment. If you use tertiary treatment, though, you're going to have a high amount of total dissolved solids in it, and you won't necessarily be able to use that much recycled water. So in some cases, they use a higher level of treatment. We refer to this as advanced treatment, and so that would include things like microfiltration. Microfiltration uses a filtrate with an incredibly small pore size that will remove a lot of contaminants. And really, this is just a pre-treatment for reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is the primary way where they treat ocean water for desalination. And so this has an even smaller pore size, and basically once water goes through reverse osmosis, it's very near distilled water quality. It's very pure at that point. Very few contaminants can make it through a reverse osmosis membrane. And those that do, one of them being, there's a substance called NDMA, which is a really, really small substance that can make it through to some degree. We treat that with ultraviolet light and advanced oxidation so we inject the water with hydrogen peroxide and then hit it with UV light, which causes an oxidation process, which eliminates what's left in the water and sterilizes it. At that point, the water is incredibly pure, and you can really put as much in the ground as you want. You're not limited by how it will impact, because it's going to be purer than any groundwater source at that point. So you can put a lot in there. The duration Honestly, I don't know the exact timeline, but keep in mind these are all kind of flow conditions. So as the wastewater is coming in, it's being treated. It's being treated as fast as it comes in, essentially.
What I know about the drought is that we just recently got out of a severe stage because of the precipitation we've been getting in February. That pretty much helped things.
Alright. What are you doing about it?
Well, I usually shower as quick as I can. That's the only thing I can do about it.
Water, yeah, water, goddamn, water, water, okay, water, what, water, drip, water, splash, water, water, yeah, water, goddamn, water, water, okay, water, what, water, drip, water, splash.